All right. So welcome everybody. Thank you again for joining me for another round of the Meet the Maker interviews for the artists that are participating in the Bristol and Bloom event. That's coming up on Saturday, August 8th at Cumberland Square Park in Bristol, Virginia. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited to because today I'm chatting with Bee Locke of BeeSymmetry.
Yay!
Yay! Yeah, so thank you for joining me, Bee. I just wanted to, for those who don't know you, if you would, please just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Great. Well, as Marcy said, my name is Bee Locke. I have a business called BeeSymmetry Pyrography, and my business is based on wood burning art. And I've been wood burning for about 10 years, and it started out as just a hobby, and then it grew into an income stream for my family and just a great passion in my life. Um, so that's a little bit basic info about me and my business.
Yeah, well, I love the work that you do, and I've been following you for a little while now. And what I really appreciate is, one, it's just really nice to watch the videos that you make of you actually making stuff, like the progress that you do. It's just so cool. I mean, any art's really cool to watch, I think, when it's coming alive, but especially with the pyrography, because it's just watching like these burn marks just turn into these really beautiful designs and patterns. And something that I just saw recently have you published your ebook for pyrography, or is that coming out?
So I have written a book. I spent the past year writing the book. It's called Creative Wood Burning, and it's an actual physical book. It is available in ebook format as well, like through Kindle and things like that. But it is an actual physical book, and the official release date is August 11th of this year, so it's coming up.
Oh,
It's been finished for a little while, but you know, when you write a book and it needs to be printed and there's all these things. So yeah, so my publisher is DK Books, and they're just wonderful. And so the book is available right now for pre-orders on my website, which is beesymmetry.com. And if you click the book tab, there's a link there that you can pre-order. And then once it is actually released on August 11th, it'll also be available in some different retail stores, and I will update people on that when that time comes.
yeah, that is so exciting. When I saw that you had the book coming out, I was just like, ah, that's so cool. So I'm just gonna, since you already brought it up, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And let's see. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So here I've got your Instagram. So if people are on Instagram, they can search BeeSymmetry and follow you here. So right here in the top is the link where it'll take you to your website. And this is where people can actually, like up here, they can shop your work and the book, find out any information about the book, which you just shared, for creative wood burning. Oh, that's so is this a picture of the cover?
That's the cover. That's the front cover. And it shows 4 of the 20 projects. So there's 20 step-by-step projects inside. There's also a section that's dedicated to wood burning techniques, tools, safety, how to select materials. It's basically everything that you would want to know if you are getting started with wood burning, or if you want to deepen your wood burning skills. And I also include templates to go with all of the projects so that you can recreate everything that you see in the book.
That's amazing. So it's really like a step-by-step guide for anybody who's interested in getting started. That is so great. So let's just look, let's see. Here are some of the things on your website where people can shop. Yes?
Yeah, so all of those different links there redirect to my Etsy shop, which
Okay.
all of my listings are. But I show some different items that, you know, some different categories of items, like the cutting boards. There's different kitchen items, and wooden frames, there's jewelry, there's home decor, light switch covers, bangles. So I offer quite a wide array of different products that are all hand burned by me.
Yes, and they're all so gorgeous. Yes, they're so beautiful. I love them. And I love the colored pieces too. So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about, can you talk a little bit about your process? Um, just
Yeah.
for anybody, you know, who's interested in buying the book even and wanting to learn more, maybe just share a little bit, like how do you add the color to the items and what tools are you using, that sort of thing.
Okay, so for anyone who is not familiar with what wood burning actually is, it's using a heated implement, which is electric with a cord, and it's got a metal end that is heated up, and you draw. Basically, it's very similar to drawing. You just draw with that heated implement onto the wood, and it burns the image in. So instead of using ink or paint or things that other artists would use, you're working with heat. So it's literally using heat to create burn markings onto wood, and you can also do it on leather and other natural materials as well. Most of my work is on wood. So yeah, I could grab, here's an example of like one tool. So then there would be a cord coming out, and folks can watch my process videos as well to get a better idea of how I do what I do. But you can use different shaped tips and get different effects that way. So it's really fun. It's very tactile. It has a scent. You're working with the element of fire. So it's like drawing, but I like it better than drawing. It adds something for me.
Yeah, that is so cool. So how did you get started with wood burning?
Well, I was teaching illustration at the time, and another one of the people that I was working with um, kind of introduced me to wood burning and said, "Oh, what if you use these little tools and did an illustration project with those?" And I was like, "Oh, I never realized that was a thing." So that was in 2009. So I started with an old soldering iron, and I've kind of worked my way up different tools ever since then. And so yeah, I've been wood burning for a little over 10 years, and it's just really fun. I love it.
So, aside from that, what is like your favorite thing to burn on? And do you have, like, are there different types of wood that you enjoy burning on more?
Yes, definitely. And I go into depth in the book about all of these different things, what to burn on, what tools to use, how to use them, and all of that. My favorite wood to burn on is basswood. It's a wonderful light color wood, and it doesn't have a very prominent grain. And when you're wood burning, the less grain, the better, because you want your tools to glide smoothly across the surface. So this is basswood. This was done on basswood right here. And you asked about the color. So there's a lot of different coloring options that you have on wood, because wood, just like paper, which is made of wood, you have this very porous surface, and it just kind of soaks up stuff. So it's great for water-based coloring agents like watercolor paints. You can also use colored pencils. You can use acrylics. The list kind of goes on. But each different coloring thing kind of has its own effect. So you kind of have to play around with what you like the most, and you can layer them on top of each other. And I also talk about adding color in my book. So, and then sealing on top of the color too, because you don't want your colors to run. And there's a little bit of science behind that. So yeah.
The book, in other words. That is so neat though. And I guess what really sort of inspired me when you were talking about the experience of it. Like it's more than just um even just the tactile nature of it, but it's a whole sensory experience, like you were describing the smells. And so I immediately was thinking about different words, or different woods might even smell different. And Yeah, so it becomes like this whole sensory experience that would be really neat. So otherwise, with your designs, where does a lot of your inspiration come from?
Well, I don't think you'll be surprised that I'm a nature lover. And so, yeah, most of my inspiration is taken from the natural world. I live here, I'm in my studio right now, and I have a door to the outside, so you might hear some bird song. But I live on a beautiful piece of property in rural North Carolina. And so a lot of my days are just spent immersed in nature, making art about nature, just the beauty around me. And I also really like just kind of geometric designs and bold patterns and really intricate details. And I like a lot of high contrast, and I enjoy playing with bright colors. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen again just so people can see some of the design work you're talking about. So, for example, the set of with the spatula and the spoon, you've got these mandala designs on them that are really gorgeous. And mandalas have a special place in my heart because they were like my reintroduction into my art practice originally.
Nice.
And yeah, so I know like the attention to detail that you have when making those designs, especially trying to get them symmetric and everything else. And so they're so gorgeous. I mean, really, and that I think is what has always struck me about your work is it's so detailed and so beautiful. And again, something that normally, even with like pen and ink and really fine pointed materials, can be really time consuming and challenging. And you're doing this with by burning wood.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just really cool.
Challenging than just drawing, because there is a learning curve with understanding your tools and how to use them, and how they work differently on different woods. And even if you're consistently using the same wood, like if you're always using maple, each piece of maple is unique. It came from a living being from a tree. And so, every single piece of wood that you work on is a little bit different, and you learn something with each one. And so it does take practice, but it is so enjoyable and so meditative that it's really worth it.
Yeah. Well, I like well, first of all, like you were saying, there's a learning curve with it. Like, I think what has always impressed me about your work is the shading and the way you achieve shading and the depth of your pieces and the depth in your designs again by burning. And so I imagine that has to do with like, I mean, I have no idea, but I imagine that it has something to do with like the temperature and the time that you spend on each piece and in certain areas in order to get.
The tools, there's certain shapes of tools that work really well for shading, and there's certain shapes that work really well for getting fine lines. So the shape of the tool matters a great deal.
Yeah. And then what you were saying about it being meditative, especially with designs like this one that are sort of like mandala designs, just those sort of designs can be really meditative in their nature anyway. Um, but I think, for anyone that's invested in a creative practice or creative hobby, like that's kind of what keeps them going is that meditative element where you just get so engrossed in that experience. At least for me, that's what I love the most about making art is that I can just lose myself completely in that experience.
Yeah, it's great. I feel very, very fortunate to have kind of built a career around something that I feel is just an innate part of me. I would, no matter what career I would have chosen, I would have always wanted to make art in addition. It's something that I love to do. And so I feel very fortunate that I get to do that on a day-to-day basis and really focus on that. And um, it does give back to me in a lot of ways, and allows me to express myself creatively. And I work from home, so that's wonderful as well. So
Yeah. So do you have any other sort of creative practices that you keep up outside of pyrography? Is there, I guess like for me, sometimes I get burnout on one thing. And so I've got to sort of refresh myself through other creative practices in order to keep that one going, if that makes sense.
yep. I have more hobbies than I have time for.
Yeah.
Yeah, wood burning is obviously like my bread and butter, and it's something that I do for enjoyment, but also because it's my business is based on that. And then, every once in a while, you just get the inkling to try something different and do something different. I Years ago, before I ever started wood burning, I was mainly drawing with pen and ink. Um, so I do that as well sometimes. And I've been incorporating kind of watercolor and pen and ink. I also really enjoy basket weaving. That's been a really fun thing to learn. And just other creative practices that are like, meditating, bird watching. I love bird watching and, you know, bring my binoculars around. That's kind of a creative nature-based thing. So yeah, I have not met a creative hobby that I have not enjoyed so far.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate too that you even included bird watching as a creative hobby and meditation too. Something that I recently just released a podcast, and an upcoming episode I'm talking about how the importance of noticing and um, observing your surroundings, observing yourself, how important those things are to inspiration and having a creative life. Because you know the world that we live in, and like you were describing, nature is so beautiful, but if we don't slow down to observe or notice those things, then it's hard to be inspired by that or be able to appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I appreciated that you included bird watching as a creative, as like a creative activity, because again, that practice of just noticing and witnessing and observing things. But also, I think that people tend to have this image in their mind of what creativity is and what art looks like, and so they can say to themselves like, I'm not creative or I'm not artistic, but they might enjoy activities like bird watching and not recognize that as being a creative hobby, or even an artistic hobby, by appreciating and witnessing the beauty of the world around them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'm sure that there's some people who would maybe not feel the same way about it, but to me it's connected because I do draw my inspiration so heavily from the natural world, and I do, every time I go bird watching, I am fully grounded in my senses, listening, looking, like being present, and just like aware of my body and trying to like blend in to not like scare birds away. And so when you kind of drop into your senses and are in that kind of witnessing mind, um, you can't help but come away with inspiration and just a sense of wonder. And if you are involved in a creative hobby, or any kind of art form, um, having those moments of wonder and inspiration are what's going to fuel you and give you ideas and make
Yeah,
you excited. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think I related a lot to like your inner creative spirit and your creative nature to that of your inner child as well, because children are so much the same. Like they are just like natural state artists and natural state creatives, because they take such interest in the world around them, and that sense of wonder that you are describing is such a childlike trait. And I think as we get older and we get used to being in this world, then we lose that sense of wonder. Like it becomes familiar to us, and so we're not as enamored by it. And so coming back to that state of presence that you were describing, and that attention, is how we reconnect with that sense of wonder. Because in those moments like you were describing, we can really appreciate and understand like how big this world really is,
Yeah.
and how we are also a mirror or a reflection of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You become more receptive to the beauty around you.
Yes, exactly. Yes, just like that. Well, really cool. So one other thing that I did want to ask too. Now I know you live in rural North Carolina, like you described. Have you lived there all your life, or where are you from originally?
I am originally from West Michigan. Um, Pretty close to the shore of Lake Michigan is where I grew up.
Yeah. So when did you relocate to North Carolina?
I have been in North Carolina for a little over 7 years. So, and on this piece of property that I live on now for about 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
So do
uh,
you ever go back to Michigan, or do you miss Michigan, or?
most of my family is there. So, yes, I do travel back every now and again, and I miss them. But um, I love being here. I feel like this is my home. I own a piece of property and I plan to live on it forever. So, um, yeah, it's wonderful to be here. I wouldn't want to be somewhere else.
Yeah, really cool. Well, my last question is, you living in this area and having such a strong connection to this area, would you consider yourself to be an Appalachian artist, or do you identify as an Appalachian artist? And if so, what does that look like to you, or how does that manifest for you?
Hmm. Um, well, I am very much in love with the landscape of Appalachia. I don't know if I can fully claim the title of Appalachian artist, not having been born and raised here, um, because I know that there's a lot of people who that term Appalachian artist might have connotations of, you know, um, life ways and traditions passed down through generations, and have a familial thing to it, and you know, quilting and blacksmithing and so many of those like traditional skills. Um, However, I feel I'm not opposed to the term.
Yeah.
I I am an artist. I live here. I love the landscape. I love the people, and I just wouldn't want to necessarily call myself that. Having been like a transplant, and trying to be sensitive to the folks who have been here a long time and that sort of thing.
Sure, I can appreciate that. Um, well, otherwise, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I really appreciate you sharing your work today. And I'm just going to share my screen one last time so people can see. So once again, here I've got your Etsy page. So this is where people can go to shop your work.
Yes,
And
and that is linked on my website as well. So my website BeeSymmetry.com has links to Etsy and Instagram and Facebook and my book pre-order. So it's kind of the go-to place for all of that.
yeah, so everybody can, from your Instagram, also go to BeeSymmetry.com. That'll take you to the website too. And like you said, there's the shop link, the book link, and everything else that they can find there. And I'm just going to scroll down through your Instagram gallery. Oh, this little fox is so cute. I love that. So these are, again, some of the items that you make, and some of the videos that you have are uploaded here as well for people to get a sense of what your process really looks like. And then also you can be found, let's see, on Facebook here as well. So if somebody wanted to get in contact with you for like a commission or something like that, what would be the best route for them to take to reach out to you?
I am always accepting custom orders on a rolling basis, and if folks have questions, they can send me a DM on Instagram, a message through Facebook, or there's a contact feature on my website that goes straight to my email. So any of those are great. Um, and I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much, Bee, for your time today. And I am just so looking forward to you being part of the Bristol in Bloom event. And thank you so much for being part of it.
Thank you. I appreciate this interview, and I am really excited about the event and to be part of it. So thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, we will chat again soon. Okay.
Okay, see you soon.